Hello, this is Nur Orak. I'm a junior faculty in the Department of Environmental Engineering. In this channel, I will share short interviews with my colleagues from different majors. I hope it will be helpful if you're interested in science world. Enjoy. Hi, Sarah. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Hi, Noor. I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure, and it's going to be the first interview, so I'm very excited today. Thank you for that. As an introduction to our audience, maybe I can start with a brief explanation how we met before and where you're working on. So Sara Abdollahi works at Johns Hopkins University as a postdoctoral associate right now, and we met during our PhD studies at Carnegie Mellon University. We were in the different departments. I was in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. She was doing a joint degree between engineering and public policy and biomedical engineering, if I'm not wrong. So today we will discuss about in general science life and her career path. So Sarah, can you talk about what you're working on right now?
Okay. So currently, what I'm working on, it sounds a bit that it's coming from science fiction, but it's actually very common work that's being done around the world. And it's basically I'm making brain cells in it on a dish, and they're also referred to as neurons. And the goal is to be able to more easily study the brain. Um, since we need access to brain tissue, one option would be to dissect the brain, for example, of humans or of cadaveric humans or animals. But kind of another option is to try to grow brain cells on a dish. And we do that with the base ingredient, if I will say, are stem cells. And stem cells are basically these cells that don't have an identity. And with the help of factors, some in some other additional ingredients, they can be driven to become any cell type in the body. For example, brain cells. So the goal of my work specifically is to, once we turn these stem cells into neurons, is then to do different tests on them and compare the response of different cell lines coming from different patients and see what is the variability. And once we know the variability, then we have an understanding of the uncertainty of the outcomes of studies that are published on stem cells. And that in that way, we can know, for example, how reliable, that not reliable, but how uncertain, what's the uncertainty and how applicable they are to different situations. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of currently working on as in a nutshell, basically.
It sounds very exciting and it's very interesting because it looks like very multidisciplinary research. So what kind of lab you're working at? Are all of the team members coming from the same background or what is the atmosphere there?
Yes, so the lab I'm working at, I feel very blessed because I'm an engineer, so I don't have a kind of a very hardcore biology background, and I'm working in the genetics department. And so most of the folks there, the students there, are basically specializing in the field of human genetics. But of course, um, as we know, science, there's a lot of transfer of kind of concepts and ideas, and there's a lot of kind of multidisciplinary work that's going on. My advisor basically, he took me in knowing that I was an engineer, but kind of also with the kind of knowing that I would be able to kind of catch up and be able to learn the skills. It was tough at first, and even still, I'm learning some things. But at the end of the day, I'm up for a good challenge and I'm up for trying new things. and I love engineering too. I feel like sometimes I bring a different perspective of thinking to the problem, and with these other students and researchers, they bring in a kind of a more science perspective background, and I come in with a more kind of like step-by-step methodological background, and it makes for a great kind of team. And sometimes there's some like we talk over each other. There's like some maybe terms that I don't know, and I'm thinking in a different way that they don't know. But at the end of the day, we all understand that we're from different backgrounds and we're working together toward a common goal. So we're pretty understanding and we're pretty welcoming of each other's background. So definitely, I feel blessed in that way to find an environment that accepts me for who I am as in terms of my background, and also I'm also willing to put the work in to get up to speed with this field.
So, could you please talk about what did you do during your PhD research? And congrats for the new paper that is based on your PhD studies, and it's the cover on the Advanced Health Materials Journal. So, could you just briefly explain what happened and what kind of skills help you today to work on current project?
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much. Yes, I got the cover of Advanced Healthcare Materials, and it was very exciting. So for my PhD, I was in the biomedical engineering department, but I come from a chemical engineering. I did my undergrad in chemical engineering, and then I wanted to basically after chemical engineering, I did not think about entering into kind of becoming a researcher, but I wanted to specialize a little bit because chemical engineering is a very broad field. So I decided to specialize in kind of more a bioengineering part of branch of chemical engineering, um, the biotechnology part of it. And so I worked on a project on biomaterials for 2 years, and I became familiar with the literature on biomaterials and kind of the work that's being done in the area. And so for my PhD, I liked research as I saw during my master's, and then the master's was in actually materials engineering. And so for my PhD, I applied to the biomedical engineering department. And biomedical engineering in and of itself is also a very diverse field. There's a lot of subfields. And I specifically worked on 3D printing of soft materials. And I was not working with, living cells or like cellular systems or biological systems. However, the group that I was in was a lot of my teammates, lab members, they were working with cells, and they presented their research, on a weekly, monthly basis. And I got exposed to a lot of work on cellular and whatnot, cellular and molecular biology. And so that's kind of what inspired me to pursue a kind of a postdoc that will give me that chance to also explore the biology side of things. But my PhD in and of itself, it was a really fun project. It was on 3D printing. So 3D printing is actually gaining more and more importance as a manufacturing technique because essentially you can kind of make any shape that you want without molds and casting and whatnot. And it's essentially kind of a robotic head that comes and lays the material and builds it up in 3D. And what I was working on is trying to 3D print soft materials so that we can make a cuff that's flexible to be integrated as a component of a pulse oximeter, a wearable pulse oximeter that can be used to measure heart rate and blood oxygen content. So that's kind of again, in a nutshell, um, kind of how what I worked on as in my PhD and in the paper you mentioned, and what inspired me to kind of move as a postdoc also to see the biology world in those respects, basically.
That's amazing. And this is a personal question. Do you see a final product from this oximeter study? Do you think there's a
Uh,
potential for, mass production?
yeah, yeah. So I think that there could be a final product in many work that we're doing, but the final product really depends on, I think, how much we want to push that. For sure, this is a medical kind of device. It's a proof of concept. It's a kind of a prototype, I would say. But if we decided, to take that, streamline the manufacturing steps, and also do more studies on a sample size of patients, not just like on one person, and just proceed step by step. Definitely, it's something that could be commercialized. But we stayed at the kind of at the proof of concept stage when I was working when I finished the project, and so I don't know where it can go later on if the lab wants to build on it or continue it. But definitely it would be something cool to see, because I think it's useful, these types of wearables, for monitoring, biomonitoring. As we see, there's a lot of people, for their lifestyle, they're monitoring kind of their activity, their heart rate, their calorie. So that's awesome. And then for people with chronic illness, for example, diabetic patients, it's really important to have continuous monitoring, so that we can know, we can tailor therapies and really lifestyle choices based on, real time biofeedback.
Mhm.
So I think it would be very interesting if we can commercialize and move ahead. But of course, this is a whole pathway, as we've been seeing on kind of television, pushing science, pushing products out from the lab, and requires a lot of testing, a lot of stages, and it should be done very diligently and in always in consideration of the health, safety, and efficacy for the public.
Yeah, that's very important to remind our audience that this kind of work are not single person's effort. Generally, it requires really a big team, big budget, to over long years to see a really good prototype, and then the final product that can be commercialized. So even though I know the research groups are kind of smaller at CMU, compared to other universities sometimes, but it's a big work that you put it out there, so it's amazing. So let's talk about a little bit, I think, PhD life there. We both experienced different, I think, challenges and different phases of PhD program, I guess. So what are the top three challenges for graduate life? Let's generalize it. Let's include master degree too.
Top three challenges. So the first challenge is just to figure out what you're supposed to do, in my opinion, because it's very different from an undergrad, or where you go, you attend classes, and you're given a syllabus, and it's like a blueprint of, this is when we'll have two midterm exams and one final exam and a couple of quizzes here and there, and then you'll get a grade, and you have material to study for. In graduate research, basically you are more independent. You have to be self-driven, and also you are not alone, right? You are working for somebody, and so you need to really kind of understand, to kind of get a grip of the kind of the relationship, the pace of the project. And so I think the first challenge was just really trying to stay grounded and figure out, like, what do I do, where do I go, just that kind of liberty of being responsible, like, for your own project, is a little bit kind of confusing at the beginning. So that was kind of a challenge. The other challenges, it really depends, you know. I think for a successful project, there needs to be multiple things that should be aligned. For example, you definitely need to have funding. You definitely need to have like a good project. You know, you can't just be like brainstorming things for a very long time. At some point, you know, you need to have a concrete goal and concrete steps to do to reach that goal. It's not just like you're exploring things, right? So you need to have funding, you need to have goals, you need to have a project, you need to have the materials and equipment to do the project. Um, and you need to have kind of a support system that includes your advisor, your colleagues, your friends, and the university and everything together. So I guess so. I said the first challenge is kind of staying grounded and becoming kind of focused uh, on what you need to do. And the second challenge is make sure that everything is aligned, right? If you have a great project but there's no funding, that could be the funding can be a challenge, you know. And the third challenge, I guess, I would say that it's really something that kind of trusting yourself and having confidence. A lot of times, you know, you're not sure if what you're doing is okay. You're not sure, you know, when you're taking classes, you get a grade back and then you know if you did okay or not, and then there's like the average let's say grade of the exam, so you can tell if what you're doing is okay or if you need to put more effort, or you know you did great or you're average, whatnot. But you know, as a grad student, you're often working on something that the other people are not working on. So people are working on different things. People are at different stages. Somebody might be still taking some classes, another person might be preparing to go to a conference, a third person might be preparing for their qualifier exams, and then you might be at a different stage. And so a challenge is really in kind of, I guess, having confidence, uh, staying healthy, taking care of yourself, and staying aligned, I would say, uh, in, with yourself and where you're going. So
That's so
maybe some sort
important.
of like a spiritual, mental health type of challenge.
Yeah, I agree. Self-confidence doesn't come from night to morning. You know, you have to spend time and energy to work on that. And I think when you are, especially when you're younger or less experienced, let's say, I think it's very difficult to find that. Even though you have the knowledge, you study hard, you know what you're working on. If you don't have the confidence, you can't show it. And you know, even in science world, sometimes you really have to sell the idea at certain platforms to be able to continue what you're working on. As you said, everything should be aligned. Great idea without a budget, without a team, without a great supervisor doesn't work, unfortunately. um, it's a system. It's a system, and you have to figure out well to make it work for yourself. So before you started grad school in the States, did you have a strategy when you were applying to grad schools? Did you really want to go to the States, or the department, the advisor, or what was your strategy?
So my strategy was that basically I had completed my undergraduate and my master's at the same university, and at McGill University. So McGill University is, you know, a kind of really good school in Canada. And then I felt like ready for a new environment, a new experience. You know, I loved the experience that I had there, but I think I memorized, I knew all the hallways and all the stairs and everything, all the little cafeterias and the little secret spots, that like my own spots that had like a flower garden and things like that. The campus is really beautiful as well. But I was ready to kind of to I was ready for a new space. You know, I felt that kind of I could feel that in my spirit, if I may say that. Um, and I was open to I was also open actually to staying at McGill as well. So I applied to a lot of places, and I was not very kind of, I guess, targeted or strict about a specific university or a specific advisor. Of course, there were advisors that are basically really famous, and I was following their work, and I contacted them. I wanted to work with them. Um, but at the same time, I was not like, oh no, if this doesn't work with this person, then I'm not doing this. Or if I don't go to the specific university, I'm not doing this. So I applied actually to a lot of places. I applied to a couple of university, actually one university or two in Europe. I applied to again my own university at McGill. I applied to another university in Canada. I applied also to the States. And basically, I just went with all kinds of. My strategy was basically be open-minded and just apply and just see which door opens. So I'm not sure if that was the a strategy, so as to speak, or if it was the right thing to do. But uh, you know, that's what led me to where I am. I was not very strict or very kind of planned or calculated in terms of, you know. But of course, I had an idea that I want to continue in biomedical engineering. I had an idea of the area that I wanted to work broadly in.
Mhm.
So I applied knowingly to those programs and those like sub areas that were I wrote in my like the statement of purpose that I named the professors that were matching the sub area that I wanted to work in the departments that I applied to. And if I kind of send out cold emails to contact professors, I would send them to professors in those sub areas. So it wasn't just like apply to whatever. It was just like I like this area, I like this field, and I applied within that field. And I was also kind of open-minded in terms of, if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. And, I can always work in industry, for government, for nonprofit organizations, and there's so many other things to do. So it wasn't like, I had an interest, but it wasn't like, oh, my life depends on this.
You have, we were in our personal conversation, we were discussing about, there's no certain type of student alive that fits science. Because people, especially, let's say high school students or undergraduate students, they think they need top grades to be able to continue research life. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so you refer to our personal conversation that, do I need to have like really good grades to do research? What type of students do better at research? Is it those that have, really good grades in undergrad, or, can those that are average be okay to do research? And my answer to that is definitely research is actually a kind of, you need to be creative, you need to be open to failure, you need to be open to repeating things. You need to be open to finding a second pathway to do the same thing. And those skills are skills that kind of come through challenges, I would say. And students that are basically, they have grades that are average or even below average, those students are actually stood up to challenges. It means that material, that experience, that their situation was challenging for them, and they stood up in the face of challenges. They completed the classes. Maybe even they had to repeat a class, and they completed the program despite not, being stellar at it. And so definitely those are great skills that they already built when they arrive in graduate school. And of course, somebody that has stellar grades and gets the concepts right away, or maybe it's in a certain like environment that is there, they have a lot of support, and they have like, already maybe older brothers or sisters that even went to the same program and that are helping them or something like that. So those students are definitely also there are also definitely good candidates to do research, but that is not to rule out the students that were average or below average. I definitely encourage anybody that thinks that I'm not sure if graduate school is for me. I'm not sure if I like research. Try it and see, because if you've been through some challenges, it means that you will be very good at handling research. And I personally also myself had average grades, and I was in that space where I wasn't sure if I could apply to top schools like Carnegie Mellon, for example. And I had kind of somebody that encouraged me, an acquaintance that I was talking to, and they encouraged me to. I was just casually talking to them and telling them, I'm interested in research, but I'm not sure if they will accept me. I'm not sure if I can apply to this school. It's very competitive. But they said, like, just go for it. Just try it and see what happens, and also keep your options open. You don't need to just necessarily apply to one type of school. You can apply to a range of different schools, and maybe that school will provide the right environment and the right style for you versus somewhere that's more competitive. So definitely don't limit your opportunities, don't limit yourself. Basically, I would say don't self subtract, and don't limit yourself, and just go for what you feel is right for you, and try to squash self doubt, basically.
I totally agree with you. I think the school life, and especially students are coming from different backgrounds, different countries and systems. Sometimes that system, education system, doesn't fit for a single, character, personality. It doesn't mean that they will not be successful in research life, because, I think research life requires certain qualities that can't be measured with the grades in high school or undergraduate degree. So, as you said, there's an alternative path. Find it. Of course, there are thresholds. Certain, you have to have a certain GPA, other exam scores to be able to apply programs. But there are very open-minded professors out there. They hire students based on their curiosity, creativity level. I mean, this is the final part of our conversation. There are so many questions that I want to ask you, but I'm highlighting the most important ones, and the ones that I'm also curious about what you think. So, is it really worth to change your country for a certain program? Think about the whole experience, not only the program, the other things we could learn, for example, from our university. You know, is it worth to go that path? What do you think now, after looking back after so many years?
So I think definitely it's like the way I hear this question is like, for example, if somebody asks me, is it worth if I read this book? They take a book and they tell me, is it worth that I read it? So the book may be very good, the book may be mediocre, or the book may be very bad. But in any case, if I read it, I will get something out of it. Even in the bad book, I will realize, okay, this is what I don't like about it, or this is how I don't want to be, or this is what I don't want to do. So definitely, I would say that it is worth exploring. As a human being, I would personally like to explore the world, to see different countries, to see different cultures, to talk to different people from different backgrounds. That's just me. I'm really interested. I think that's what life is. We have a planet, and not to go too philosophical on you, but we have a planet. There's so many different colorful things going on, and I want to explore all of them. I don't want to just stay in one spot and it's nice to be in a familiar place, of course, where you have a lot of support, that the support is always something that that is helpful in any endeavor. But definitely, I would suggest that explore. And I definitely have had a lot of challenges in the U.S. and while studying, while doing my graduate studies. But overall, it has been a very great experience. You know, and I would do it again if I could go back. And I don't think I will do anything differently, because even the challenges, the mistakes, or the hardships, those are the things that, you know, have made me the person that I am today, and able to better manage similar situations or other challenging situations. So definitely, I think it's worth it. But you know, you need to be open-minded. It's not just like, oh, I really need to go to this place. I really need to go to this country. I really need to do this. No, be open-minded. You know, there's like I said, we have a planet. There's so many beautiful places and so many great opportunities. And you know, there could be really a great fit, like for example, in another country maybe that you've never thought about. You know, so be open-minded and try to explore. And it's also okay if you want to, you know, stay in your home country and study there. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't necessarily have to jump from one place to another, kind of all around. If you don't, if you feel like you're in a place which is a good fit, which you're at peace, which you're making good progress, and you are, you know, happy there, then there is no reason to disrupt, you know, what's working. Um, you know, so it's all good whatever you decide. There's no single like profile. Some people say, oh, I need to do all of this so that I can have a competitive like profile. Not necessarily. You know, you have a competitive profile when you're happy, and when you're happy you're doing good work, and when you're doing good work you get good results. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. That's an amazing way to put together all this. I think suggestions. It's sometimes when people are living the moment, they forget the you know, the big picture, and they forget it's the work at the end, it's the school at the end, it's a program at the end. So it's life is more than that. And I agree that sometimes, I mean, I did it before. Staying in one place, one university, one program really limits your vision. You need change. And there are very good, big, good surprises out there when you go and explore different programs, different universities, and meeting and working with different supervisors. It opens your world for the next step. But of course, we're talking about people who are interested in doing science and already very curious about doing different things, so they are open to change. We also know there are students who are not interested in that life, and they just want to get the diploma, go out there. So that's a total different story. So thank you
That's
so
fine
much.
too.
That's fine too. Yes, that these are different paths. Thank you so much, Sara. There are so many questions that I want to ask you, but let's limit it with this 30-minute conversation today. I know you have a busy schedule, and this week was your break. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Noor. It was really a pleasure, and I hope that, you know, your audience will like the content. And I think it's a really lovely thing that you've organized these podcasts. It's great, and you know, um, I'm looking forward to seeing more and more guests and all these things. So I'm very excited for you and for your audience too.
Oh, thank you for your support. Have a great day, and see you later.
Have a great day. Take care. Bye.